Marcus Hill always parked under the same flickering light of the Riverside Mall, not because it was closer, but because it made him visible. Visibility, he'd learned, could be protection or a trap. The afternoon sun pressed down hard, heat warping the pavement. When he felt it again, that pause, that invisible hand on his chest. Someone watching him too closely. He slowed, keys already threaded between his fingers, metal cool against his skin. "Excuse me." The voice was casual, practiced, authority without paperwork. Marcus turned. A white man in a fitted security polo stood near his car, arms loose, eyes sharp. The man looked past Marcus, at the vehicle, then back at him, as if comparing two mismatched facts. "That yours?" the man asked. Marcus nodded. "Yes." The man smiled, thin and knowing. "Doesn't look like it." A couple passed behind them, laughter fading as they sensed tension. No one stopped. No one ever did. Marcus felt his pulse rise, not from fear but from recognition. He knew this script. He knew how it ended too often, with hands on asphalt, with explanations no one recorded, with apologies that never came. "I'm just leaving," Marcus said. The man stepped closer. "We've had issues. You fit the description." "What description?" Marcus asked. The man leaned in, voice dropping. "Someone who doesn't belong." A police cruiser turned into the lot. Tires crunched. The light above Marcus flickered once, then steadied. The security guard lifted his chin. "Let's see how cooperative you want to be." The cruiser slowed. Marcus's phone buzzed in his pocket, and for the first time, he didn't answer it. Marcus Hill had learned to keep his keys ready before he reached the parking lot, a small habit born from years of watching eyes follow him in places that sold comfort and safety by the hour. The late afternoon sun baked the asphalt outside the Riverside Mall, heat shimmering around rows of cars. His phone buzzed with a text from his sister. "Danielle, you almost home?" Mama asking. Marcus smiled, thumb hovering, when a sharp voice cut the air. "Hey, you there?" He looked up. A man stood between him and his midnight blue sedan. Wide stance, hand resting on a belt that held no badge but plenty of confidence. White mid-40s, polo tucked tight, the logo of a private security company stitched over his chest. The man's eyes slid from Marcus's face to the car, then back again, skeptical, bored. "That your vehicle?" the man asked. Marcus felt the familiar tightening behind his ribs. "Yes," he said, calm. "Even, it is." The man chuckled softly. "Funny, we've had reports." "Reports of what?" Marcus asked. The man stepped closer, close enough that Marcus smelled mint and coffee. "Of people trying doors that aren't theirs. Happens." "I'm not trying," Marcus said. He lifted his keys, slightly metal catching light. "I'm leaving." The man didn't move. "Let's slow down." A couple walked past, glancing, then looking away. A child tugged a balloon, oblivious. Marcus's phone buzzed again. He ignored it. "Sir," Marcus said, choosing the word carefully, "I'm late. Please step aside." The man's smile thinned. "Attitude won't help you." Marcus swallowed. He thought of his mother's warnings, his father's tired jokes, the training he'd never asked for. "What will help?" he asked. "Proof," the man said. "Registration. ID." Marcus's pulse climbed. "I don't have to show you my ID." The man's hand lifted, palm out, a practiced gesture. "You can make this easy or you can make it complicated." "By standing in front of my car?" Marcus asked. The man's eyes hardened. "By lying." A police cruiser rolled slowly at the edge of the lot, blue stripe flashing in the sun. The man glanced toward it, then back at Marcus, decision settling like dust. "Last chance," he said. Marcus unlocked the car with a click that sounded too loud. Doors chimed. Heads turned. The man stepped forward, blocking the door, and said quietly, "It's just a black man's car, right?" The cruiser's lights flicked on. The cruiser stopped at an angle that felt intentional. Front tires turned slightly toward Marcus like a warning. The lights stayed on, blue and red washing over the cars, the pavement, his skin. The security guard stepped back just enough to look cooperative, like a man who had already won. Two officers got out. They didn't rush. They never did. One was tall and broad-shouldered, hand resting near his holster. The other moved slower, older, eyes already tired. Marcus noticed how both of them looked at the guard first, not him. "What's going on?" the older officer asked. The guard spoke immediately. "This guy was trying to get into a car that's not his. When I questioned him, he got defensive." Marcus opened his mouth. The tall officer lifted a hand without looking at him. "We'll get to you." Marcus closed his mouth. The older officer turned his head slightly. "Sir," he said, finally acknowledging Marcus. "Is that your vehicle?" "Yes," Marcus said. "I was leaving when he stopped me." "You have ID on you?" Marcus hesitated, not because he didn't have it, but because he knew what hesitation meant to men like this. He reached slowly into his pocket, pulled out his wallet, and handed it over. The tall officer took it, flipping it open like he expected it to be wrong. "You live around here?" "Yes." "You always park here?" "Yes." The officer glanced at the license, then at the car, then back at Marcus. "Mind explaining why security says you were trying doors?" "I wasn't," Marcus said. "I walked straight to my car." The guard crossed his arms. "That's not what I saw." Marcus turned toward him. "You saw what you expected to see." "Hey!" the tall officer snapped. "Watch your tone." Marcus exhaled slowly through his nose. "I'm being respectful." The older officer studied Marcus for a moment longer than necessary. "Step away from the vehicle," he said. "Why?" Marcus asked. "So we can make sure this stays calm." Marcus stepped back. The asphalt was hot through the soles of his shoes. He felt exposed, standing there while the officers positioned themselves slightly apart, a practice triangle that left him nowhere to move without it being called aggression. The tall officer opened the driver's door. "That's my car," Marcus said, louder now. "We're just checking," the officer replied, already leaning inside. Marcus watched him rummage through the center console, the glove compartment, the space where Marcus kept receipts, and a small photo of his parents from 20 years ago. The officer held up the registration. "Name matches," he said, almost disappointed. The guard shifted his weight. "Could be stolen." The older officer glanced at him. "Dispatch says it's clean." Silence hung for a beat. Marcus felt it stretch, thin and sharp. "So what now?" Marcus asked. The tall officer closed the door a little harder than necessary. "Now you answer some questions." "I already did." "You can answer them again," the officer said, this time without the attitude. Marcus clenched his jaw. He could feel eyes on him now. People who had stopped pretending not to notice. A woman near an SUV had her phone half raised, unsure. A man leaned against a cart return, watching with interest. The older officer lowered his voice. "You need to understand something," he said. "When security calls us, we have to take it seriously. And when I say I did nothing," Marcus asked. The officer's lips pressed together. "That's noted." The tall officer stepped closer. "You want this to go smoothly?" "Yes," Marcus said. "Then cooperate." "I am cooperating." The officer smiled without warmth. "Good. Then you won't mind if we pat you down." Marcus froze. "For what reason?" he asked. "Officer safety." The words were automatic, unquestionable, heavy. Marcus looked around. "I haven't threatened anyone." "Hands on the hood," the tall officer said. Marcus hesitated just long enough for the officer's hand to brush his arm. Not hard, not violent. A reminder. Marcus placed his hands on the hot metal. The hood burned slightly through his palms. The officer patted him down quickly, efficiently, fingers pressing where dignity lived. People watched. No one spoke. The guard stood back, satisfied. When it was over, the tall officer stepped away. "You can relax." Marcus turned slowly. "Am I being detained?" The older officer sighed. "No." "Then I'd like to leave." The older officer nodded. "You're free to go." "Free." The word landed wrong. Marcus reached for his door again. The guard cleared his throat. "Next time," he said, "park somewhere more appropriate." Marcus looked at him. Really looked at the certainty, the comfort. "I parked where I was allowed," Marcus said quietly. The tall officer stepped between them. "That's enough." Marcus got into his car. His hands shook as he turned the key. The engine started. The lights were still flashing. As he pulled out, he caught a glimpse of the woman with the phone. She had started recording too late. The cruiser pulled away behind him. Marcus drove with the radio off, heart still pounding, knowing something had shifted. They had let him go, and that was never the same thing as being okay. Marcus didn't tell his mother what happened that night. He told her he was late because traffic backed up near the mall. He told her he'd forgotten milk. He did not tell her how his hands had shaken on the steering wheel long after the cruiser disappeared from his rear-view mirror. But silence has weight. It followed him into his apartment, into the shower where hot water hit his shoulders and didn't loosen anything. It followed him into bed, where sleep came in broken pieces, sirenless but loud. The next morning, his sister called. "You sound wrong," Danielle said. "What happened?" Marcus stared at the cracked ceiling above his bed. "Nothing." She laughed once, sharp. "That's a lie." He exhaled. Mall parking lot. Security guard. Cops. There was a pause. Not shock. Recognition. "Did they touch you?" she asked. "Yes." "Did they arrest you?" "No." Another pause. He could hear her breathing change. "Did they apologize?" Marcus closed his eyes. "No." Danielle swore under her breath. "You need to report it." "To who?" Marcus asked. "The people who did it?" "You need a record," she said, "even if it goes nowhere." Marcus knew she was right. He also knew what nowhere felt like. Still, he went. The police station smelled like disinfectant and old paper. A desk officer with tired eyes handed him a clipboard without looking up. "Fill this out." Marcus sat on a plastic chair and wrote. He wrote names he didn't know, badge numbers he hadn't been given. He wrote times and descriptions, careful, precise, like precision might protect him. When he handed it back, the officer skimmed it quickly. "You weren't arrested?" "No." "No charges?" "No." The officer nodded, already disengaging. "Then it'll be reviewed." "Reviewed by who?" Marcus asked. "Internal Affairs." The officer said. "They'll contact you if needed." "When?" Marcus asked. The officer shrugged. "If..." Marcus left with a carbon copy that felt heavier than it should have. 2 days passed. Then 3. On the 4th day, Marcus's manager called him into the office. "Have a seat," she said, folding her hands on the desk. "This is awkward." Marcus already knew. "We received an email," she continued, "from someone claiming to be mall security." Marcus stiffened. "About what?" She hesitated. "They said there was an incident, that police were involved." "And?" Marcus asked. "And HR wants to make sure this doesn't reflect poorly on the company." Marcus stared at her. "I was harassed." "I understand," she said quickly, "but perception matters." "Whose perception?" Marcus asked. She sighed. "Marcus, just keep your head down for a bit." The phrase landed like a slap. That night, a statement appeared on the mall's website. "We take all security concerns seriously and are reviewing the situation. At no time was any individual targeted based on race." Marcus read it 3 times. "No time," he muttered aloud. "Not once." The security company issued their own response. Vague, polished, full of words like protocol and misunderstanding. No one called him. No one asked for his version beyond the form. A week later, a letter arrived. "After careful review, we find no violation of departmental policy." Marcus laughed when he read it, a dry sound that surprised even him. "They didn't even interview me," he told Danielle on the phone. "That's the point," she said. "If they don't hear you, they don't have to contradict you." Marcus stopped sleeping. When he did, he dreamed of hands on his shoulders, of lights that never turned off. At work, people avoided eye contact. At the grocery store, he noticed security more than usual. Or maybe he always had, and now he couldn't pretend otherwise. One afternoon, his phone buzzed with an unknown number. "Mr. Hill?" a man's voice asked. "Yes." "This is Officer Reynolds. I was at the scene." Marcus's chest tightened. "Yes." "I just wanted to say," the officer continued, voice careful, "no hard feelings. We were just doing our jobs. Marcus laughed again, sharper this time. So was I. I was leaving. Silence. Look, the officer said these things happen. Do they happen to you? Marcus asked. The line went dead. That night, Marcus sat alone in his car outside his apartment, engine off, listening to nothing. The complaint had gone nowhere. The statements erased him. The people with power had closed ranks. And still, something burned beneath the fear. They thought this was over. They thought silence meant surrender. Marcus stared at his reflection in the rearview mirror and whispered, "Not yet." Marcus was halfway through reheating leftovers when Danielle's name lit up his phone again, this time with video attached. "Don't open it alone," she said the moment he answered. "Sit down first." Marcus lowered himself onto the couch, the microwave humming forgotten behind him. "What is it?" "Just watch," she said. He tapped play. The video started shaky, angled wrong. A woman's voice whispered, "Oh no," somewhere behind the camera. The frame caught a sliver of blue sedan, a security guard's back, then Marcus himself, standing with his keys in his hand. Marcus felt his stomach drop. There he was, calm, still, his voice steady as he said, "I'm just leaving." The guard's voice came through clearly. "You fit the description." "What description?" Marcus heard himself ask. The camera zoomed slightly, as if the woman filming had leaned in. The guard stepped closer. His voice dropped, but the phone caught it anyway. "Someone who doesn't belong." Marcus sucked in a sharp breath. The clip jumped. Police lights flooded the frame. One officer gestured Marcus back. Another opened the car door. The pat-down wasn't fully visible, but the woman filming whispered, "That's his car." He unlocked it. The video ended abruptly. Marcus sat frozen, phone warm in his hand. That's not everything," he said. "I know," Danielle replied, "but it's enough." "Where did you get this?" "It's everywhere," she said. "Twitter, TikTok. Someone posted an hour ago. It's already got hundreds of thousands of views." Marcus's chest tightened. They didn't even talk to her. "They never do," Danielle said, but she talked anyway. The microwave beeped, shrill and wrong. Marcus stood and shut it off, hands trembling. Within an hour, his phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Unknown numbers, texts, emails. A reporter left a voicemail. Another asked for comment. A third asked if he felt misunderstood. Marcus ignored them all. By morning, the story had headlines. Man questioned over his own car sparks debate. Security guard defends actions after viral video. Police say encounter was routine. Marcus stared at the words on his laptop screen. Coffee cooling untouched beside him. Debate, he muttered, like it's theoretical. His manager emailed him before noon. HR would like to speak with you regarding recent media attention. Danielle called again. Don't go alone. I have to, Marcus said. If I don't, they'll decide without me. At work, the conference room felt colder than usual. HR sat with legal on speakerphone. Words like optics and risk floated freely. We're not saying you did anything wrong, HR said carefully, but visibility can complicate things. Visibility didn't start this, Marcus said. It just caught it. No one responded. That afternoon, the security guard appeared on local news. He wore a suit this time, smiled into the camera. I was just doing my job, the guard said. In today's climate, you can't be too careful. Marcus watched from his couch, jaw tight. The anchor nodded sympathetically. Do you believe race played a role? The guard chuckled. Absolutely not. This has nothing to do with race. Marcus laughed once, harsh and hollow. Nothing, he said to the empty room. The police department released body cam footage that night. Edited, clipped. The moment when the guard blocked the door was gone. The pat-down was framed as routine. The words "doesn't belong" were missing entirely. Danielle slammed her hand on the table when she saw it. They cut it. They always do, Marcus said. But they didn't cut the bystander, she said. And they can't. More videos surfaced. Different angles. Different phones. None showed Marcus aggressive. All showed the guard confident. All showed officers siding with him. The comments were brutal. Why didn't he just comply? Looks suspicious to me. If he's innocent, why is he mad? Marcus stopped reading. That night, another call came. This one different. Mr. Hill, a woman said, "My name is Elena Brooks. I'm a civil rights attorney." Marcus closed his eyes. "I've reviewed the footage," she continued, "and the statements." And Marcus asked, "And this isn't a misunderstanding," she said. "It's a pattern." Marcus opened his eyes, heart pounding. "A pattern of what?" "Of them assuming you don't belong," she said, "and being protected when they act on it." Silence stretched between them. "I need you to understand something," Elena said gently. "If you move forward, they will push back harder." Marcus thought of the heat on the hood, the lights, the word free that hadn't meant free at all. "I already know," he said. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance. The world hadn't changed. But now, people were watching. The threats didn't announce themselves at first. They slipped in quietly, disguised as advice. A co-worker pulled Marcus aside near the elevators. "Man," he said softly, eyes darting, "you might want to lay low for a while." "I didn't do anything," Marcus replied. "I know," the man said. "I'm just saying people are talking." By the end of the week, people had names and email addresses. Marcus's inbox filled with messages that started polite and ended sharp, just asking questions, trying to understand both sides. Some weren't subtle at all. "You should be grateful you weren't arrested. Stop playing the victim. Why do you hate cops?" Danielle sat across from him at his kitchen table, scrolling through her phone with a scowl. "You need to stop reading these." "I need to know," Marcus said. "Know what?" she snapped. "How many strangers think you deserve what happened?" Marcus didn't answer. The security company suspended the guard, with pay. The announcement was buried halfway down a press release that spent more time praising their commitment to community safety than explaining why a man who had blocked a stranger from his own car was still collecting a paycheck. "That's it," Marcus asked Elena Brooks over the phone. "Paid vacation?" "For now," Elena said. "They're trying to wait this out." "Wait me out," Marcus said. "Yes," she replied. "They're betting you'll get tired." The police department closed its review. Again, this time the statement was firmer. No evidence of misconduct. Officers followed procedure. Marcus stared at the words until they blurred. "They didn't even mention the footage," he said. "They mentioned what helped them," Elena replied. "That's procedure too." The retaliation sharpened after that. Marcus's car was keyed overnight in his apartment complex. No cameras caught it. A note was tucked under his wiper the next morning. Should have just kept driving. He showed it to property manager, who frowned sympathetically and said, "Well, keep an eye out." They didn't. At work, Marcus was removed from a client-facing project he'd spent months developing. "Just temporary," his manager said, avoiding his eyes until things calmed down. "When?" Marcus asked. "Soon," she said. Soon never came. The news cycle shifted, as it always did. Another video, another name. Marcus's story was pushed down the feed, resurfacing only when pundits needed an example of both sides. One night, Marcus sat in his car outside Danielle's house, engine idling. He hadn't planned to come over. He just hadn't trusted himself to be alone. "I don't know how long I can do this," he admitted once inside. Danielle leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "You don't have to be strong all the time." "Yes, I do," Marcus said. "That's the point. If I crack, they'll say I proved them right." She stepped closer. "Right about what?" "That I don't belong anywhere," he said quietly. Danielle swallowed. "That's a lie they've been telling forever." "And people keep believing it," Marcus said. The next morning, Elena called with urgency in her voice. "I need you to come in," she said. "Today." Her office was small but bright, walls lined with framed newspaper clippings. Marcus recognized patterns even before she pointed them out. 3 complaints, Elena said, sliding folders across the table. Different years, different people. Same security guard, same mall. Marcus's hands trembled as he flipped through the pages. "They all say the same thing," he murmured. "Because it is the same thing," Elena said. "Assumption. Escalation. Police backup. No consequences. Until now, Marcus asked. Elena met his eyes. Until you. Marcus laughed bitterly. I didn't choose this. No, she said, but you're in it. Outside the office, a man recognized Marcus and pulled out his phone. Hey, the man said, recording, say something for my channel. Marcus kept walking. That night, another envelope arrived. No return address. Inside was a printed screenshot of his apartment building, circled in red, a message beneath it. We know where you park. Marcus sat down hard on the couch. Danielle called the police. They took a report. Again, no follow-up. Marcus didn't sleep. When morning came, he stared at his reflection in the bathroom mirror, eyes red, shoulders tense. They want me scared, he whispered. And it worked. But beneath the fear, something else had hardened. Anger, yes, but also clarity. They were counting on exhaustion, on isolation, on the quiet collapse of man who refused to stay in his place. Marcus picked up his phone and called Elena. I'm not backing down, he said. There was a pause. Then, I was hoping you'd say that. Marcus hung up and exhaled. Retaliation had taught him something simple and brutal. If the truth threatens power, power always strikes back. And this time, he was ready. When you're ready, type continue, and I'll write chapter 6, almost equals 900 words, where evidence expands, lies emerge, and the case begins to turn from survival to confrontation. Continue, but 900 word. Here is chapter 6, written at 900 words, continuing with escalation discovery, and the shift from survival to direct confrontation. Chapter 6, discovery, almost equals 900 words. Elena didn't call it hope. She called it leverage. She spread the documents across the conference table like cards in a game that had finally turned fair. Incident reports, complaint forms, settlement agreements with names blacked out, dates circled in red. Same language, she said, tapping one page. Same phrasing, suspicious behavior, refusal to comply, officer safety. Marcus leaned forward. They copy-pasted their excuses. They standardized them, Elena corrected. That's how systems protect themselves. Marcus picked up a report from 4 years earlier. The name was redacted, but the story wasn't. A black man stopped at the same mall. Same guard. Same claim. Trying doors. Same police response. He filed a complaint. Marcus said, "What happened to him?" Elena exhaled. He settled quietly. Signed an NDA. Needed the money. Marcus nodded. He understood that too well. The discovery process moved faster than Marcus expected, and slower than justice should. Subpoenas were issued. Emails were requested. Body cam logs. Security training manuals. The security company delayed. The police department objected. They're dragging their feet, Marcus said. They're counting on time, Elena replied. Time wears people down. Time wore Marcus thin anyway. He started taking different routes home, parking in different spots, sleeping with his phone on the nightstand, volume up. At work, his responsibilities shrank until his days fell hollow. One afternoon, he was called into HR again. This isn't disciplinary, the representative said quickly. We just want to check in. Marcus didn't sit. Checking about what? About stress, she said. About how this might be affecting your performance. My performance hasn't changed, Marcus said. She folded her hands. Perception matters. Marcus laughed, low and humorless. Everything matters except what actually happened. The first real break came from an unexpected place. A former security employee emailed Elena anonymously. No greeting, just files, training slides, internal memos. A highlighted sentence repeated across multiple documents. Escalate immediately when subjects challenge authority. Elena, Marcus said when she showed him. That's not safety. That's punishment. Elena nodded. It's control. The hearing room smelled like old carpet and restraint. Marcus sat at the long table beside Elena, hands folded, back straight, suit collar tight against his throat. Across from them sat the security company's attorneys, polished and calm, flanked by the guard and two representatives from the police department. Behind them, rows of chairs filled slowly. Reporters, activists, city staffers, people who had come to watch power speak carefully. The city council chair tapped the microphone. This hearing will come to order. Cameras clicked. Red lights blinked on. Marcus felt a familiar pressure settle in his chest. Not fear exactly, but the knowledge that every word would be weighed, trimmed, reinterpreted. Elena spoke first. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. This case is not about one parking lot, she said. It's about a pattern of racialized suspicion that escalates into police intervention without cause and the institutional mechanisms that protect that behavior. One of the council members leaned forward. Are you alleging racism? I'm alleging evidence, Elena replied. Racism is a conclusion the evidence leads to. Murmurs rippled through the room. The security company's attorney stood next. My client regrets that Mr. Hill felt uncomfortable, he began. But discomfort does not equal discrimination. Marcus clenched his jaw. The guard testified after that. He spoke with confidence, hands folded, voice steady. I followed protocol, he said. I asked a question. That's all. What question? A council member asked. The guard glanced at his attorney, then back, whether the car was his. And when he said it was, the council member pressed. I didn't believe him, the guard said plainly. Why not? The guard hesitated. Cameras zoomed in. I had concerns, he said, based on experience. Experience with what? The council member asked. The guard's mouth tightened. Suspicious behavior. Marcus leaned forward before Elena could stop him. Standing still, Marcus said, his voice carried. Using my keys? The chair raised a hand. Mr. Hill, you'll have a chance to speak. Marcus sat back, pulse hammering. When it was his turn, he stood slowly. The room went quiet in a way that felt heavier than noise. I was taught to be calm, Marcus said, to explain myself, to not move too fast, to survive encounters like this. He paused, scanning the faces in front of him. I did everything right, he continued, and still, I was treated like a problem that needed to be controlled. A council member asked softly, What did that cost you? Marcus swallowed. Sleep, trust, my job opportunities, my sense of safety in ordinary places. The police representative spoke next, defensive but measured. Our officers follow procedure, he said. There was no arrest. Marcus laughed quietly. That's your bar. The chair banged the gavel. Order. Public comment opened. A woman stepped forward. My son was stopped by the same guard, she said, voice shaking. Same place. Same words. Another man followed. I filed a complaint 3 years ago. Nothing happened. Story after story. Different voices. Same shape. The room shifted. By the end, the guard looked smaller. Not ashamed, cornered. The council adjourned with promises of review, of reform, of accountability. Outside, microphones crowded Marcus. Do you feel justice is being served? A reporter asked. Marcus considered the question carefully. I feel like the truth finally had witnesses, he said. That night, the city announced an investigation. The security company terminated the guard's contract. The police department agreed to policy revisions and mandatory training. Headlines called it a win. Marcus sat alone on his couch, lights off, phone face down. Danielle texted, You did it. Marcus typed back, We did something. But when the adrenaline faded, what remained was exhaustion. The guard would lose his job. The department would change language on paper. The city would move on. Marcus would carry this longer. He stood at his window, looking down at the street, where people passed freely, unaware of how close belonging could be taken away. Justice had arrived. It just hadn't healed everything. The city moved on faster than Marcus expected. A week after the hearing, a new story replaces on the evening news. A month later, the policy changes were summarized in a single paragraph on the department's website. Carefully worded, proudly announced, quietly archived. The mall installed new signage about community values. The security company released a statement about learning moments. None of it erased the sound of the guard's voice in Marcus's head. Doesn't look like it's yours. Marcus returned to the Riverside Mall for first time on a Tuesday morning, when the parking lot was half empty and the sun less aggressive. He didn't need to be there. He chose to be. He parked under the same flickering light. His hands shook when he cut the engine. He noticed it without judgment. Elena had told him that healing didn't look like bravery. It looked like patience. He stepped out of the car slowly. No one stopped him. No one watched too closely. The space felt ordinary again, and somehow that hurt the most. Inside, the mall smelled like pretzels and cleaning solution. A new security guard stood near the entrance, younger, eyes uncertain. When Marcus walked past, the guard nodded. "Morning," the guard said. "Morning," Marcus replied. It shouldn't have mattered. It did. At work. Things didn't fully return to normal. The project he'd been removed from went to someone else. His manager apologized, privately, carefully. "I should have done better," she said. Marcus nodded. "You should have." The apology didn't come with restitution. Apologies rarely did. Elena called him one afternoon with the final paperwork. The settlement was fair, not life-changing, not symbolic either. It came with no admission of wrongdoing. It came with signatures and silence. "They'll call this closure," Elena said. Marcus looked out the window at the street below. "Is it?" "It's accountability within limits," she replied. "That's the truth." Marcus signed. The guard faded from the news cycle. No interviews. No redemption arc. Just a name that stopped appearing. A man who would have to explain a gap in employment without ever explaining why it existed. Marcus didn't celebrate that. He didn't need to. One evening, Danielle came over with takeout, and a look Marcus recognized. "You're quieter," she said. "I'm resting," Marcus replied. She smiled sadly. "You shouldn't have had to earn that." They ate in silence for a while. Outside, sirens pass and move on. "Do you regret it?" Danielle asked finally. Marcus considered the question seriously. "No," he said, "but I'm more than who I was before." She reached across the table and squeezed his hand. Months later, Marcus spoke at a community forum. No cameras, no microphones, just folding chairs and people who leaned forward when he talked. "I didn't want to be a case," he told them. "I wanted to be a person leaving a mall." Heads nodded, murmurs of understanding. "Justice," he continued, "isn't the moment power admits it was wrong. It's the moment it has to listen." Afterward, a young man approached him, eyes nervous. "Thank you," the man said. "This happened to me, too. I thought it was just me." Marcus felt something loosen in his chest. "It wasn't," he said, "and it isn't." That night, Marcus sat in his car outside his apartment. Engine off, window cracked. The city hummed. Life went on. He thought about the question that had started everything. The simple, poisonous doubt wrapped in authority. "That yours?" Marcus smiled faintly. Yes, it was. The car, his body, his story. They had tried to turn a moment of suspicion into a lifetime of silence. Instead, it had become a record, a crack, a warning. Justice hadn't fixed him. It hadn't made him whole, but it had made one thing undeniable. He belonged. And the next time someone tried to tell him otherwise, the world would have to hear him say no. The gym was quiet that morning, the bleachers empty. The echo of sneakers unpolished were the only soundtrack. Marcus stepped onto court, alone at first, feeling the familiar weight of the ball in his hands. The leather smelled of sweat and wax, a scent that had always grounded him. He dribbled slowly, deliberately, listening to the hollow taps. Everything had changed, but nothing had. The suspension was over. The review had concluded. Policies were rewritten. Training modules were mandated. Public statements had been issued. The referee had been reassigned. Names of allies and whistleblowers had surfaced. Justice, in its procedural and legal form, had been delivered. Yet Marcus felt no celebration. Only a quiet exhaustion that lingered like a shadow. Coach Daniels arrived, early as always. "You ready?" he asked, not smug, not cautious. Just a coach wanted his player back. Marcus nodded. "Let's start." The team filtered in slowly, some hesitant, some curious. Teammates approached him, offered brief nods, tentative smiles. Some words unspoken carried more weight, than any congratulations. Jamal bounced the ball next to him. Feels different, huh? Feels quiet, Marcus said. Like it's supposed to. Practice began. No announcements. No fanfare. Just running, shooting, passing. The rhythm of the game reclaiming him. Each play, each dribble, each shot was a small reclamation of space that had once been denied. After a series of layups, Marcus paused, sweat sliding down his back. He looked across the court, noticing the subtle shifts, eyes that watched him more respectfully now. Gestures softened, whispers fewer. The current of acknowledgement ran through the room. It was not applause, not headlines, not viral clips. It was deeper. Later, the campus newspaper ran a feature on Marcus. Not sensationalized, not accusatory, just truth laid out clearly. The incidents, the systemic failures, the patterns revealed, and the courage to speak. Comments flooded in, supportive, reflective, critical but informed. He didn't read them all. He didn't need to. He felt the presence of the truth, strong enough to stand without amplification. His mother came to visit that evening. Denise Reed had packed sandwiches and iced tea, sitting across from him in the small lounge off the gym. "You okay?" she asked, eyes scanning his face for signs of strain. Marcus nodded, letting the corners of his mouth lift slightly. "I am now." She studied him a moment, then smiled softly. "You did it. Not loud, but you did it. And you didn't just win for yourself." He looked at her. Some things can't be celebrated like trophies. Some victories you feel in the silence. The next morning, he arrived early again. The team was practicing, already warmed up. Marcus stood at the edge of the court, watching. He remembered the night of the game, the chant, the whistles, the viral clip. He remembered the fear, the uncertainty, the moments when silence had been demanded of him. And he remembered how he had chosen to break it. Step by step, word by word, action by action. A freshman approached him timidly. "Marcus, can you show me how to shoot free throws like you do?" Marcus smiled, handing him a ball. "First, you feel the rhythm. Don't let anyone else set the pace for you." It was teaching without grandstanding, guidance without expectation of applause. The lesson carried more than technique. It carried resilience. Hours later, he sat alone in the locker room, tying his shoes, the weight of the day settling. Messages still arrived, some from reporters asking for reflections, some from players grateful for the example he had set. Marcus replied to only a few. Most he ignored. The headlines would fade. The social media clips would be cropped again, muted, misremembered. But the structural changes remained. Policies rewritten. Awareness raised. The silent voices had been amplified without turning them into spectacle. He picked up the ball, bouncing it slowly, listening, feeling. The echo returned, steady and constant, a reminder that victory was not always loud, not always dramatic, not always satisfying the ways a crowd might expect. Sometimes winning was quiet, procedural, and lasting. He thought of the faces he had passed in the hallways, the hands that had patted him with hesitancy, the teammates who now included him naturally in conversation. It wasn't applause, but it was acknowledgement. It was validation. It was proof that standing firm, speaking truth, and enduring cause could produce real change. Marcus walked onto the court for another drill. The team followed. The day went on in ordinary rhythms, shots, passes, sprints. But Marcus carried a quiet triumph with him. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't seek the spotlight. He let the results speak for themselves. At the end of practice, he left the gym alone. Outside, the sky glowed with the soft light of late afternoon. He inhaled deeply, feeling the weight of tension lift just slightly, replaced by a calm that had been impossible weeks before. Justice had arrived, uneven and imperfect, but undeniable. The cost had been high, but so had the clarity. Marcus walked forward, understanding that winning wasn't about noise or fame. Winning was about truth, integrity, and the slow, quiet restoration of order where it had been denied. He tucked the ball under his arm, stepped onto the empty sidewalk, and walked home. The world was still flawed, the system still imperfect. But for the first time in a long time, Marcus felt the resonance of change, steady, real, and lasting.